Plus Racing, bringing you a Q&A Monday. All right, so let's just jump right in it because it's before school and I gotta rock this. So it looks like SRMX 518 wrote me and says, I need help searching every day with no luck. I don't know what that means. But is a competition license needed for regional events? I believe regional is the most entry level of Spec Miata racing. I don't plan on racing, traveling anywhere besides my region, nor do I plan on racing any big events. I just want to race with the Spec Miata boys at my local track. Also, is there any prize money for regional events, or does it depend on the location, event specific? Plan to go to the SCCA route here in New Orleans. Well, I wish I was in New Orleans. I heard you guys have really good food down there. I got to go down there and visit. Hey, so I really don't know what it is from all the other regions. I'll tell you what happens here in the San Francisco region. So here in the San Francisco region, when you're racing regionals, there's no money. All right, you do have to go through a school, a licensing school. If you have a NASA license, you can convert that to SCCA, and if you have an SCCA license, you can convert that to NASA. But so you have a competition license, and if you're a beginner, you have a regional. Rookies are not allowed to go and race in a national event, which now we call the majors. So you can race your local races with a competition license. In our region, there's no money. And the other weird thing about our region is we even have some other classes like SSM, which is sealed Spec Miata, which I don't think they have, the nationwide. And that's where your car makes 113 horsepower and everybody runs the same stuff. It's supposed to be like Spec Miata. But, and then we also have SMT, which is a Spec Miata with Toyo tires, and then we have SM, which is a Spec Miata with Hoosier tires. So I know that most of the nation, and maybe you guys could chime in because I'm not 100% sure on this, you guys all use Hoosiers, which is supposed to be the Spec Miata official tire. But here out in Northern California, we're also allowed to run Toyos, which are a little cheaper, and they last a lot longer. So, you're going to have a good time racing with your friends in New Orleans, and you're going to meet a lot of great people out there. Spec Miata people are usually, some of the most helpful and friendly racers out on the racetrack. So I think you're going to be good on that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. If you just look up A Plus Racing, you'll find my email address, and I can talk to you on the phone about it. All right. Then somebody writes, thank you so much. You're welcome. Just use your reverse slide hammer trick, work slick. Oh, he's talking about when the axle seal on a differential, where I just take the whole upright and I get it splined into the side gears, and I get it just right. Boop, I just pop it in with one quick move, and they snap in every time. I use that for every car. It doesn't matter if it's a Miata or not. Letter channel, I got a 1999 NB, and I'm getting ready to change out all the fuel lines of video on do's and don'ts of the fuel line replacement would be greatly appreciated. Keep up the good work. Thank you for all that you do. Well, I appreciate that. And that comes from what is that, Mike? Two Schoolful.
Two Schoolful, I guess.
Two Schoolful guy.
Two Schoolful.
Yeah. Hey, so you're going to need to have some of the special tool, the quick release, in order to take the fuel lines off of an MB. The NAs don't have that. They just use clamps. But on the MB, it has a quick release for that. I've got cars, I've never replaced a fuel line on them unless they break. And so if they break, then I replace them, because on an NB, they're plastic. They're not rubber like they are on an NA. So they're plastic, and they seem to last a long time, but you must have a good reason to want to replace them. So just be careful. Try not to break any of the fittings. All right, I hope that helps. Sorry, I just haven't really done that. I don't ever replace them unless the kids pull an engine out and forget to unhook it, and it's like, oh, this thing broke off. That's usually when I see broken fuel lines. All right, so appreciate all your great videos. Thanks, Al.
Oh, no, this one.
Oh, we skipped one.
Dave Farrell.
Al, we discussed a new yet leaking transmission rear propeller shaft seal the other day. I remember he called me. After the engine was replaced, the shaft was soaked up
upon the first start.
Soaked up on the first start. I removed the seal, inspected, found no issues, reinstalled it, but while under the car, my son noticed that all the oil from the exhaust pipe started the car, and sure enough, more oil was ejected right onto the shaft. Conclusion, the engine was inverted for a while. When I corrected the oil pan issue, oil settled to the top plus of the mystery oil I shot into the bores, found its way out the exhaust and got blown out. Live and learn, thought you might like to chuckle at it. Oh, I remember he called me, he said he had the engine out, resealed the pan, put it all back together, and all of a sudden there's fluid like on the drive shaft or something like that. So up the back of the transmission, we were talking about rear tranny seals and the shift tower, all that. So I guess what happens is he flipped the engine upside down, engine went through one of the exhaust valves, and ended up in the exhaust, flipped it up, and then ended up squirting out and burning. So I'm glad you got that taken care of, Dave. All right, now I'm down to Anthony.
Fernandez.
Anthony just really likes our video. I appreciate that, Anthony. I'm glad that you enjoy the videos, and I hope that they're helpful for you. All right. Any concerns getting oil on the belt? Never had one fail or get worn aside from age. You know, we got a gal here that has a Miata. Her name's Katie. I think she's on her 6th belt in the last couple of months. I told her just bring the car in here to the shop. We're going to take a look at it. But other than Katie, we normally don't have belt problems. As far as oil getting on the belt.
He's talking about your trick to install over the other pulley. That's what he's talking about.
That engine had a whole bunch of oil on it, and it was off of, that was some street car I had, or maybe it was a kid's car, I don't remember. I filmed that a long time ago, and I just remembered that trick, and that's when I filmed it. But, you know, a little bit of oil is not going to make a big deal on that. I wouldn't want to soak a belt in oil. We used to squirt them with the little WD-40 when they would squeak. That's how we could tell which belt it was. We'd take a WD-40 can and we'd hit it, and then if it stopped squeaking, we knew that was the belt. You know, but I never had any problems with oil damage on the belt. If you've got a power steering that's leaking fluid on the belt, that natural rubber is going to go away. Natural rubber doesn't like any petroleum-based oil. So you got to kind of watch out for that. But the little trick was pretty easy, and I've used that several times. I wish I would have known that trick when I was a Ford mechanic. And man, I tell you, I had to work on some motorhomes sometimes, and I got to get to the last belt, and there's 8 belts in front of it. I wish I would have known that trick. Anyhow, I hope that helps you out. Thanks for that. Just watch TikTok. I don't know, with dancing girls. Great trick. Hey, if you got the video of those dancing girls, maybe send them my way. All right. What's the next one, Mike?
That one, unrelated to this video, porting and polishing the heads.
Oh.
It was an electrical video, but he's like, is it worth it?
All right.
A race head, Al. Look.
I'm looking for officials. Make sure that head is where all the power is made, okay? It used to be like, you know, you had a guy that could work on the head, and you paid him whatever amount of money it could to give you the really, really, high flowing head. So that head deal in Spec Miata has been highly controversial ever since I got into Spec Miatas. So, Mazda really didn't lay the rule down very well for the longest time. They were pretty vague. They're a little more precise now ever since the runoffs at Laguna when all my buddies were there. And my man, Mark Dremen, won the race and got disqualified because his engine got torn down. And I believe the story goes that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my buddy Mark, he got torn down and his head was illegal, too much porting. And then the second place guy won. And so then somebody protested him and they tore his engine down and his head was illegal. And then the third place guy won and they tore him down and he was illegal. And by the time they got down to it, I think the 7th place guy won. And that's because he had already left and gone home. All right. So that's when Mazda stepped in and said, we got to get more clarification on the head. So they're a little more strict now about what you can do to the head. You really need to read the rules. And you need to find somebody who knows how to interpret those rules if you plan on racing, especially in the big times.
But for a streetcar, Al, is it worth porting and polishing?
Streetcar, yeah, do it, man. The streetcar, yeah. Pour and polish that baby, get that thing all cleaned out, make it flow, match the gaskets, match the intake, match the exhaust. I would be doing all of that if it was a streetcar, So yes, it is definitely worth it, all right? So if you've got a streetcar that you want to pour and polish, by all means, man, have at it. And there's even a lot of videos online that will talk to you about how to do it and how to get started in it. And the tools and equipment are not that expensive, all right? So I hope that helps. Thanks for that. That was a great question. Never had that one before.
That was Harima. Okay. That's our next one.
The exhaust almost, oh, yeah, that kid, yeah. Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, when he was working on that exhaust fell down. Lucky you didn't hit him in the head. That would have hurt.
Right.
Those are good kids, yeah. And they bounced back pretty good. I hit a kid in the eye one time with an antenna. He's never forgiven me. All right. I hate that this video is so good.
Cam timing tricks.
With this poop smeller?
Yeah, poop smeller.
The poop smeller guy. Oh, my cam timing video. Man, that video is so popular. That was a great video that everybody loves because, it's just so simple to follow that. I show that to my class every year when we're doing, belt installations on the Miata because it really is a great video. Okay, well, I'm glad that you liked it, buddy. Great job, Al, on a different subject for the 02 5-speed manual. I have seen folks use gear oil, me too, in the shifter housing. Flying Miata says grease. What is your recommendation? Dave from Mississippi. All right, Dave from Mississippi. What do I use? I just put 90 weight in there. That's all I do. I don't do anything fancy. I'm not packing anything with grease in there. I don't use fancy fluids most of the time. I got a lot of cars, and on the cars I do long endurance racing, like on the 25 hour, I pretty much use Swepco fluid throughout the vehicle. But when they're just rental cars, I've had really good luck just using 90 weight I get from the parts store. I see this question comes up all the time where people are like, well, what fluids is everybody using? What's the best fluids to use? If they're all graded by SAE, which is Society Automotive of Excellence, no, engineering. The excellence is the SAE, Certified Mechanic. So SAE, so Society Automotive Engineering. If they're certified, that means it's one of the highest grades of fluids that you can get. So I just kind of look for that, and then I just use the 90 weight that I get from the local parts store. Nothing really super fancy, and I haven't had any issues. The only problem I have is if they're using second gear at Thunderhill on turn 11, then it seems like it wipes out my third gear synchros faster. If I teach drivers how to go through turn 11 in third gear and not use second gear, the transmissions almost last indefinitely. I have, ever since I started doing that, I have very few transmission failures with that, just using regular 90 weight. So on that shift housing, I would just put some 90 weight in there, and that just helps lubricate that little ball and socket down there, and I think you're going to be golden, buddy. That's a good question, though. I appreciate you asking that. Where are we at, Mike?
Rotating. This guy's a rotary guy. I'm assuming rotating.
Okay, so when looking at the wire diagram at the beginning, doesn't the alternator bridge at one side of the kill switch thus feed a fuse box? Thanks a lot for your reply. I'm trying to understand what you mean.
That was in the kill switch wiring, how you switch the alternator wire from...
I moved the alternator wire to the starter. That picks up, that's that white wire, and I think that white wire is the wire that feeds the fuse box under the engine. And so, yeah, I pick up my power from the starter, which is that terminal goes directly to the battery. And so I do power that up that way. But yeah, you know what? And I got a book, the How to Build a Spec Miata, I think it was called, like 20 years ago, from the God, Dave Wheeler. Dave Wheeler, the Spec Miata all-time God. And I got that book and I read it from cover to cover, and he gave two different ways of wiring the kill switch. One of them was very complicated and very time consuming. The other one was very simple. Guess which one I use? Guess which one I'm still using to this very day, okay? So that's where I got it from. I didn't make it up. I'm not the one inventor. Dave Wheeler, who from Advanced Autosports in Wisconsin, You know, unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. Him and his lovely wife. You know, they're both gone now, but they were amazing people, amazing to work with, and loved them dearly. And that guy knew Miatas. Yeah, I mean, I don't even put a shadow over what that guy does. He was amazing with Miatas. We lost a god when he passed away. But anyhow, so that's where I got it from. I just copied him, and it worked, and it's simple, and that's why I use that.
Another guy about the cam timing tricks, not sure what he's trying to say, but I guess it's annoying that it's so good and so easy and it works.
Yeah, so Jan Mill, I don't know if he's happy with the video or unhappy with the cam timing. Either way, okay. Just purchase the same kit tank for the video. Oh, the fuel pressure regulator on an NB. Hey, good luck with that. That's a good kit. If you got that from Advanced Autosport, Dave Wheeler's old place, it's gonna go right in. You're gonna have a good time with that. It's great. No RTV. I recall seeing sealant when I removed it.
Rear main seal.
On the rear main seal? Yeah, you know, I don't lie to you, but have I used RTV on the rear main seal? Yeah. You know, we do that when we're in a pinch and we don't have the gasket. It is a special gasket. And so if we're in a pinch and we're out the racetrack and we got to get that thing back on there, you know, for some reason we took it off, I've put RTV on there and just squished it together and it worked. You know, but for the most part, I like a gasket, and I don't like putting RTV on a gasket. And I have a video on that earlier on RTV and gaskets. Don't do that. All right, but thanks for that reply. Al, your basic starts, Al, wrong.
All wrong.
Oh, is that all wrong?
I think so, yeah.
Well, your basic start on your sentence is all wrong. Okay. Yeah, I read this before.
Yeah.
It said I remember seeing this when it popped up on my email. The guy was complaining about, I'm not explaining to you the electrical correctly on the wire diagram, even though I made the most basic electrical diagram as I possibly could. I don't know how I screwed this up. But he writes, he goes, your basic start, Al, wrong. Car electronics are switched to neutral, not a phase. So you got the battery fuse light bulb switch neutral, earth. Small but very important difference. And this comes from Michael Smeddy.
Marcel Smeddy.
Oh, Marcel Smeddy?
Marcel Smeddy.
Yeah, 513. Hey, buddy, so those terms that you're using, those are for home electrical.
Yeah, you don't use phase in car.
I've worked in the auto industry my entire life. I've never heard anybody refer to the ground as an earth. Or a phase. Those are terms that I have heard when I talk to electricians for AC, which is home. Okay, so AC, alternating current, those are common, very common terms used, but 40 plus years in the auto industry, I have never heard anyone ever, and we're talking tens of thousands of people that I've worked with, ever use the term phases or earth, neutral. We don't use those terms in automotive. So maybe you have an engineer background in home electrical, which you would be correct, okay, using those terms here. But in automotive, I'm just showing them the basic way how to read a wiring schematic, and it's coming.
That needs
the more is coming.
Right?
All right. So, but thanks for your comment. I appreciate all the comments. Was there some more underneath that one?
Those were Dion and him making comments back and forth. Dion said the switch could go on either side because in a car you're just completing the circuit. When you're working on electrical in a car, you would disconnect the battery first. So the comment here about a house and a light with a switch is actually a null and void because we don't shut off switches in a car and then work on electronics. We disconnect the battery and then work on electronics. So it doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay.
That's what that whole conversation, I read those a couple times.
Oh, okay.
So
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You are one hell of a teacher. Thank you for bringing this content to YouTube the way you do. So, this was the basic. So I'm going to do a follow-up on that, hopefully here in the next few days. So we'll move it up to the next step. I've just been super busy lately, trying to get my captain's license. And so I've been studying really hard to get my captain's license so I can take people out on the ocean. But hey, so I think we're at the 20-minute mark. Maybe we'll do one more. What's this one here? Oh, we gotta do Dope Chicken. He's pretty good. He's
Dope Chicken.
Hey, I need some help again with my 1990 at around 50 miles an hour. When I give the gas, the rear will sway, and it feels like to the left, to the right. When I let off and on the gas in this way, that sometimes feels like slight fishtailing on wet, icy roads, but this is, I already know where this is going. The car has a VLSD. I checked both side brakes for the same amount of wear. Many people have said bushings. Any further advice on the start? Hey, I've seen this. I've seen this before. It was a long time ago. I've seen it a couple of times. And that's when we're on the racetrack, especially coming around turn 9 at Thunder Hill, and we're going down the hill and we go real fast, and you let off the gas, and it feels like the car almost steers a little bit one way or the other from the ass end. Something is loose in the back, and it has to deal with the axle, okay? So yeah, it could be a bushing, it could be the upright. I've seen it where the bushing on the upright gets worn out and it's wobbling back and forth, and when you step on the gas, it points the wheel one way. When you let off the gas, it points the wheel the other way. So there's something loose back there that's causing it to do that. And I've seen this before, and I've always tracked it down and fixed it, and it was always something moving back there, all right? Hey, Dope Chicken, thanks again for chiming in. I hope that helps, but let me know if you found out what it was. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Mike's giving me like 22-minute marks and stuff like that. We got class starting here in 10 minutes. So, hey, thanks for chiming in to A+ Racing. I hope this was helpful. Keep your comments coming. I enjoy reading them. I hope I can help you out. And you know what? I'm going to see you at the racetrack.